I had an interesting day at the range yesterday. What you are seeing here is one of two of a matched pair, well, not matched pair, but a pair of Thompson Center Contender 14-inch rifle caliber barrels. This one's in 223. I also have one in 730 waters. Now, I went to the range yesterday to do some chronograph testing because I have to load my own ammunition for the 730. I set up my chronograph. This is the first time I was going to use my chronograph, so I hadn't used it before. I was very careful to make sure I lined it up correctly so that I would not shoot the thing, being that this was the first use and I was trying to use it. Well, as it turns out, there wasn't enough light coming in over the top of it to actually operate the chronograph, so it wasn't working and I wasn't getting any data out of it. Well, we live, we learn. I'm going to have to rig up some lights for it for use because it has a cover over the section. The range has a cover over the section where the chronograph sits. So I'll have to rig up some lights for that. But I went ahead and started shooting. First I shot with my 6 TCU barrels. 6 TCU, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a 223 casing necked up to 6mm. Yes, I have to make them myself. They're not factory available. So I shot that and I discovered that the chronograph was not working, so I went ahead and completed my group and changed barrels over to the 730 waters. Again, this one's the 223. You'll see the 730 in a moment. And I was trying to be very, very careful to make sure that I did not shoot my chronograph because the things aren't cheap. Well, on the second shot with the 730 waters, I saw the chronograph fall over. It was on a lightweight camera tripod. And I went, dang, I didn't even get any use out of it, and I shot my own dang chronograph. Well, I went ahead and said I'll go ahead and shoot my group, and as I was loading the barrel, I noticed something very peculiar about it. Now, if you see on this one, there is a muzzle brake there. Well, what happened? Looky! No muzzle brake. How very interesting. The muzzle brake had flown off. For some reason, Thompson Center, at the factory, these are factory barrels with the factory muzzle brakes, they decided that they didn't want to thread the muzzle brake on. That's actually an expensive operation to do. So they just glued it. This is the only time I've ever heard that somebody glued it on. So when I went to go retrieve my poor chronograph, I actually did notice that the display, which it has a remote display, was still showing the error code that indicated it wasn't, which indicated it wasn't working as a chronograph, but it was still functioning. I thought, isn't that odd? Well, as I was taking it down, I discovered this. I did not hit the chronograph. The muzzle brake, on the other hand, decided to hit my tripod. Now that's a very small look at that leg. What are the chances of that happening? I don't know. But as you can see, I found the muzzle brake. Here it is, in all its glory. Sitting there, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with it. I actually thought I would just slip it back on for the purposes of this, this video, but it's really tight there, so I'm going to have to clean off the glue, probably with a fine wire wheel and my Dremel tool, and possibly see if I can JB weld it back on, since I am not going to thread it. That's an expensive operation, and if I did, because this was a slip fit to begin with, there's not enough meat in here to thread, so I could thread the barrel, there's plenty there, but then I would have to get a muzzle device that threads on. Well, I'm not really sure if I'm going to do that. The muzzle device is not really very necessary, so I might just leave the barrel as is and call it a day. But I figured that that would be something interesting for people to see. This is the first time I've seen this. I have got about 20 shots through this barrel, and the muzzle brake flew off. How very interesting.